My wife asked me to drop her phone on the charger before bed. I set it on the nightstand, and it buzzed twice, screen lighting up bright in the dark room. I glanced down out of habit. The name on the screen wasn't a coworker, wasn't her sister, wasn't anyone I expected. It was my own brother's name, and the message preview underneath it made my stomach fall through the floor. I'm Mark, 34, married to Jenna, 32, for 6 years, together for 9. My brother Derek is 31, lives 20 minutes away, comes to every family dinner, every holiday, every birthday. He's the guy who helped me move into this house. He's the guy who was a groomsman at my own wedding. And apparently, based on the message sitting there, glowing on my wife's phone, he's the guy who's been texting her something that no brother should ever be texting his sister-in-law at 11:40 at night. Let me back up, because context matters here. Jenna and I built a solid life together, or so I thought. Decent jobs, a paid-down mortgage, a dog we both spoil rotten, and a marriage that never had any obvious cracks in it. We weren't the couple people worried about. We were the couple people used as an example. My mom used to tell my younger cousins, "Look at Mark and Jenna. That's how it's supposed to work." Derek and Jenna got along fine, the normal amount. Family jokes, some teasing, nothing that ever raised a flag. If anything, I used to think it was nice that my wife and my brother had an easy rapport. Made holidays less awkward. Turns out I had that backwards. That night started like any other night. We watched some show, brushed our teeth, and she handed me her phone to charge because her charger cord was somewhere buried in her purse and mine was already plugged in. Totally normal request. I've done it 100 times. This time, the phone buzzed in my hand before I even got it to the nightstand, and I looked down without thinking twice. Derek's name. A little text bubble preview. Something about "can't stop thinking about" earlier, and a heart emoji. I stood there for what felt like a full minute, just staring at the screen until it went dark again. My brain did that thing where it refuses to process what it just saw. Like maybe I misread it. Maybe it was some other Derek. Maybe autocorrect changed his name from someone else's. I know how stupid that sounds now, but that's genuinely where my head went first. Denial's a hell of a drug. I set the phone down, walked into the bathroom, and just breathed for a second. Then I went back, picked the phone back up, and unlocked it. Password's been the same for 4 years. Her birthday plus mine mashed together, because we never had secrets. Funny how that works out. The messages went back weeks. Not months, weeks. But weeks was more than enough. Nothing crude at first, just excessive. Good morning texts. Check-ins about her day that had no business coming from my brother. Then it escalated. Plans to grab coffee that were somehow never mentioned to me. A photo she'd sent him from what looked like our bathroom mirror. And then, near the top, the one that had just come in. Can't stop thinking about earlier. Earlier. That afternoon she told me she was running errands. I checked my own memory against the timeline like a lawyer building a case, because apparently that's what I do now when my chest feels like it's caving in. I didn't wake her up. I didn't throw the phone across the room. I didn't call Derek and scream into my cell at midnight, even though every part of me wanted to. Instead, I did something that surprised even me. I went downstairs, sat at the kitchen table in the dark, and started screenshotting everything. Every message, every timestamp, every photo. My hands were steady the whole time, which felt wrong given how loud my heart was pounding. I think some part of me had already decided how this was going to go before I even finished scrolling. By 2 a.m., I had a folder. By 3 a.m., I had an email to myself with every screenshot backed up in case she deleted her phone history the second she found out I knew. I didn't sleep that night. I sat on the couch and watched the ceiling fan spin until the sun came up. She came downstairs around 7, saw me already dressed for work, already showered, already calm in a way that should have tipped her off but didn't. "You're up early," she said. "Couldn't sleep," I said. "Big day. What's happening today?" "Nothing yet," I said. "Have a good one." I kissed her on the cheek, grabbed my keys, and left. In the car, I called a lawyer. Not just any lawyer, A guy from my gym who does exactly this kind of work and had mentioned once over protein shakes that he'd seen it all. I told him I needed a consultation as soon as possible and gave him the short version. He didn't even sound surprised. Apparently, a phone charging on a nightstand is one of the most common ways this stuff comes out. Who knew? I spent that day at work in a fog, replaying every family dinner from the last 2 months, every time Derek showed up randomly, when Jenna mentioned she'd be home alone. Every inside joke I now understood wasn't so innocent. I felt sick, but underneath the sick was something colder starting to form. A decision. I didn't confront her that first night, or the second. My lawyer's advice was simple. Gather everything first, don't tip your hand, and don't let emotion make your decisions for you. So for 5 days, I went to work, came home, ate dinner across the table from a woman smiling at me like nothing was wrong, and said nothing. On day 6, I had the documents ready, filed, signed, sitting in a folder in my car. That night at dinner, she asked what was wrong, because apparently I wasn't hiding it as well as I thought. "You've been quiet all week," she said. "Everything okay?" "Actually, no," I said. "I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest, which I know is a big ask for you right now." Her face changed instantly. That's the thing about guilty people. They can smell the trap a second before it closes. "What's going on? How long have you and Derek been talking?" The color left her face so fast I almost felt bad for her. Almost. "What are you talking about? We're family. Of course we talk." "Cut it," I said. I read the messages. I read all of them. The coffee dates. The bathroom photo. Can't stop thinking about earlier, from 3 nights ago. "Want to try that answer again?" She started crying immediately, which I now understand is just chapter 1 of the standard playbook. It's not what it looks like. It's exactly what it looks like. Nothing happened. We just got close. It was emotional. It wasn't physical. "I don't actually care which category you want to file it under," I said. "You've been lying to my face for weeks while sleeping in my bed. And it's not some stranger. It's my brother, the guy who stood next to me at our wedding." She kept trying different angles. The classic, "You've been distant and I was lonely," and "It just happened." Like emotional affairs with your husband's own sibling just happen the way rain happens. I let her talk. I didn't say much. Then I got up, went to my car, and came back with the folder. "What is that?" "Divorce papers. Already filed." Her jaw actually dropped. "Already? You didn't even try to talk to me first?" "I'm talking to you right now. This is the conversation. It's just happening after the decision, not before it, because I already know how this would have gone if I gave you the chance to explain your way out of it." She grabbed for the folder like that would somehow undo it. I pulled it back. "You're really going to end our marriage over a few texts?" "I'm ending our marriage because my wife and my brother have been carrying on something behind my back for weeks, and the only reason I even know is because your phone buzzed on a nightstand." Imagine if it hadn't. That shut her up for a second. Then the tears turned into anger, which is always chapter 2. "You went through my phone. That's a violation of my privacy." I actually laughed at that one. "You violated an entire marriage. I'm not losing sleep over reading a screen that lit up in my own hand." She stood up, paced, tried a few more angles, landed on the classic. "So that's it? You're just done? No counseling? No trying to work through it?" "You don't work through your husband's brother," I said. "There's no couples retreat for that." I told her I needed her to sleep in the guest room that night. She refused at first, said it was still her house too, which, fair, technically it is, both our names on the mortgage. But I wasn't in the mood to argue about square footage while the ink was still fresh on a betrayal I hadn't even fully processed. I ended up being the one to leave, grabbed a bag, and checked into a hotel. Slept better there in one night than I had all week at home. Update 1, 4 days later. Word travels fast in families, and apparently faster when there's a scandal attached to it. My mom called me crying, having heard some scrambled version of events from Jenna's side that painted me as the villain who blindsided his poor wife with divorce papers over a misunderstanding. I set her straight fast. Told her exactly what I found, exactly what the messages said, exactly whose name lit up that screen. Long silence on the other end. "Derek," she finally said. "Are you sure?" His name, his number, saved as a contact she's had for years for family reasons. I'm sure. She didn't call me a liar. She just went quiet in that way parents go quiet when they're doing math they don't want to be doing. Derek, for his part, went full radio silence for the first 2 days. No calls, no texts, nothing. Then on day 3, he showed up at my house unannounced while I was there grabbing more clothes. "We need to talk," he said, standing in my driveway like he had any right to be there. "No, we really don't." "It wasn't what you think, man. Nothing physical happened, I swear." "I don't care about your definitions, Derek. You were texting my wife heart emojis and meeting her for coffee behind my back for weeks. That's not a technicality I need explained to me." "She came to me," he said, which is genuinely the laziest excuse a grown man can offer, as if he doesn't have a mouth capable of saying no. "Cool story. You could have told me the second it started. You could have told me the first time she texted you something inappropriate. Instead, you kept it going for weeks and showed up at every family dinner like nothing was happening. That's not a mistake. That's a choice you made over and over again." He tried the whole "we're brothers" card next. Said he didn't want this to ruin our relationship. I told him he should have thought about that before he decided my marriage was worth less than whatever he thought he was getting out of this. He left without another word. Haven't spoken to him since, and honestly, I'm in no rush. My dad, to his credit, didn't try to defend either of them. He just told me he was sorry and that he raised Derek better than this, which I appreciated even if it didn't fix anything. Jenna, meanwhile, started the full charm offensive. Texts about how much she loved me, how this was a moment of weakness, how she'd go to therapy, cut off contact with Derek completely, do whatever it takes. I didn't respond to most of it. My lawyer's advice was consistent. Document everything. Engage as little as possible. Let the paper trail speak for itself. Then came the guilt trip relatives. Her mother called me directly, which took some nerve considering her daughter was the one who decided my brother's number was worth saving under a heart emoji. "Marriages go through rough patches," she said. "You're going to throw away 6 years over one mistake?" "6 years and a betrayal with a family member," I corrected her. "There's rough patches, and then there's this. This isn't a pothole. This is a sinkhole." She didn't have a comeback for that. Update 2, 3 weeks in. This is where things got genuinely messy. Because of course they did. Jenna's lawyer sent an aggressive opening letter demanding half the house, which is fair since both names are on it, but also demanding spousal support given the emotional trauma of a rushed divorce filing, which is an incredible way to describe the trauma her own actions caused. My lawyer laughed out loud when he read it to me over the phone. "She's asking for support because you found out too fast for her liking," he said. That's basically what this says. We countered hard. House gets sold, proceeds split, standard. No spousal support given the short duration and the circumstances behind the split, which we could document 6 ways from Sunday with actual receipts, meaning actual text message receipts. My lawyer said the messages alone were probably the cleanest fault-based evidence he'd seen in years, since we live in a state where fault can still weigh in on settlement negotiations, even without changing the no-fault divorce process itself. Then the deposition happened, and I have to say, watching Jenna get questioned under oath about her relationship with my brother was one of the most surreal afternoons of my life. Her lawyer tried to frame it as an emotional connection during a difficult time in the marriage, implying I'd somehow driven her into it through neglect. My lawyer wasn't having it. "Would you describe your relationship with your husband's brother as purely platonic during this period?" Long pause. "We were close. Close enough to exchange the messages that have been entered as exhibits?" Another pause. "Yes. Did you ever discuss ending your marriage with him?" Her face went tight. Not seriously. My lawyer pulled up one specific message where she'd told Derek she wished things were different and that she didn't know how much longer she could keep pretending everything was fine. She had no good answer for that one. her own lawyer visibly deflated in his chair. Then it got worse for her, because apparently loyalty in that family runs about as deep as a puddle. A mutual friend reached out to me privately after hearing through the grapevine what had happened, and let me know Jenna had actually confided in her weeks before the phone incident, saying she had feelings for Derek and didn't know what to do about it. My friend had screenshots of that conversation too, because apparently everyone in my life takes screenshots now, and forwarded them straight to my lawyer. That single conversation blew a hole through Jenna's "it just happened out of nowhere" narrative, since it proved she'd known exactly what was building for weeks and chose to keep going anyway. Her family tried the classic move next, showing up at my job. Her mother and her aunt, of all people, cornered me in the parking lot after work like this was some kind of intervention. "You're destroying this family," her mother said. "Your daughter destroyed this family," I said. "I just filed the paperwork that makes it official. She made a mistake. For weeks. Repeatedly. With my own brother. There's a word for that, and it's not mistake. A mistake is forgetting an anniversary. This is a pattern." Her aunt tried a softer angle, something about how families should stick together through hard times. I told her the family that needed to stick together was the one that should have told me the second they found out my brother was texting my wife heart emojis at midnight, and that clearly nobody in that family had my back, so I wasn't obligated to have theirs either. They left without another word. Meanwhile, Derek apparently told the extended family a version of events where I overreacted to some flirty texting and blew it out of proportion. That story fell apart fast once a cousin of mine, who's friendly with both sides, saw the actual screenshots I'd shared with my parents and realized some flirty texting doesn't usually include coffee dates hidden from a spouse and photos taken in someone else's bathroom. Word spread through the family group chat fast after that, and Derek went quiet for good. Update 3, 6 weeks in, heading towards settlement. The house sold. We split the proceeds evenly after paying off what was left on the mortgage, which stung a little given I'd covered more of the down payment originally. But my lawyer said fighting that battle would cost more in legal fees than it was worth, so I let it go. Sometimes the math beats the principle. Spousal support got dropped entirely once the messages and the friend's testimony were fully on record. Her lawyer tried one more time to push for it in mediation, framing me as someone who moved too fast toward divorce, and my lawyer simply read the timeline back to the mediator. Weeks of secret messages, a confidential admission of feelings to a mutual friend, a hidden meetup pattern, and a coffee stain of a defense that collapsed under 2 questions in deposition. The mediator didn't need much convincing after that. We settled without a trial. House proceeds split. Retirement accounts divided per the standard formula for the years we were actually married. No spousal support, and she kept her car since it was already in her name anyway. I paid my legal fees. She paid hers. All told, it cost me about $6,000 to get out clean, which felt like a bargain compared to what staying might have cost me long term. Derek, for what it's worth, still tries to reach out occasionally. Birthday texts, holiday texts, the occasional "hope you're doing okay" that reads more like guilt management than genuine concern. I don't respond. Some bridges you don't burn on purpose, you just stop maintaining them and let nature take its course. This is one of those. My parents still see him. Obviously, he's still their son. But Christmas this year is going to be interesting to say the least, since apparently nobody's figured out yet how to seat 2 people at the same table who used to be brothers and now aren't sure what they are. Final update. It's been about 4 months since that phone buzzed on the nightstand. The divorce is finalized. Jenna moved into an apartment across town. Last I heard through the family grapevine, things between her and Derek fizzled out almost immediately once there was no marriage left to sneak around, which tells you everything you need to know about what that whole thing actually was. Turns out the thrill was the secrecy, not the person. Once it was out in the open, there was nothing left holding it together. I moved into a smaller place near work, quieter than the house ever was, and honestly, it suits me. I've picked up woodworking again, something I used to do before the marriage ate up all my free time. Built a bookshelf last month that actually stands up straight, which felt like a bigger accomplishment than it probably should have. There's something satisfying about building something with your hands after spending months watching something you thought was solid fall apart because two people decided honesty was optional.